Okay, so we're going to look at what happens when you reflect across the y-axis. The last video, we had an example of reflecting across x. So we know when you reflect across x, x stays the same, y becomes its opposite. Let's talk about what's happening when you reflect across y. So we're actually going to just cross this out because we have already talked about x. So we have our original, our pre-image. The point is at 2, 3. When we reflect across y, it becomes -2, 3. Then we have -1, 4. When we reflect across y, it becomes 1, 4. Same here. -5, -1 becomes 5, -1. So when we reflect across the y-axis, the first thing I want you to think about is which way is the figure moving. And if I'm reflecting across y, this is my line of reflection. So if I'm going to reflect over that line, I'm moving these two directions. I'm either moving right or left. Those are the only options because I've got to get over this line. So I'm moving right or left. And think about that. If I move right or left, what's happening to my x value? Would they be changing or would they be staying the same? My x values are going to be changing. And they're changing in a very specific way. They're becoming their opposite. Now, what about y values? If I'm moving right to left, I'm not moving up or down at all. So y is not affected. Y values stay the same. So this is what we're going to add into our notes. When you reflect across y, y stays the same, x becomes its opposite, and your figure is moving either to the right or to the left. So what does it look like? So here we have an example of a reflection over the y-axis. So we had our pre-image here in blue. It was reflected across the y. It moved to the left. So we were in quadrant 1, where everything was positive. Now we've moved to quadrant 2, where our x's are negative and y's are still positive, which makes sense because I moved to the left. Only my x's are affected. X became its opposite. It went from quadrant 1 to quadrant 2, and y is exactly the same. Positive y, still positive y. So that's a picture of what it looks like to reflect over the y-axis.